Welcome to the Plant Report, a radio show that educates about the green world one plant at a time. The Plant Report is a new educational resource about plants, herbal medicine, ethnobotany, and the human-plant relationship. With over 400,000 species found worldwide, plants give us oxygen, food, fiber, and medicine, and add beauty and inspiration to our lives. Listen to our podcast, read our blog, watch our videos, and learn from experts and the plants. The Plant Report is a project of Sustainable World Radio and is hosted by Jill Cloutier. Thanks for listening to the Plant Report because every plant has a story. Our plant today is elder, Latin name Sambucus. A member of the Adoxaceae family, elder is native to Europe and now found throughout the world as a small tree or shrub. A graceful plant, elder has light green, slightly serrated leaves and clusters of flowers, followed by small purple, black, red, or sometimes white berries. Steeped in folklore, elder is revered in many cultures. In parts of Scandinavia and Britain, farm workers would avoid harming elder for fear of invoking the anger of the elder mother, a spirit who is thought to protect and live in elder trees. Known as nature's medicine chest and the tree of music, elder is used medicinally around the world in tinctures, syrups, and teas. The branches of elder can also be made into a flute. In today's show, I talk with environmental educator and natural dye and fiber expert Rebecca Burgess about the many benefits of the elder plant. I also speak with herbalist Lanny Kaufer, who leads herb walks in Southern and Central California. If you could tell us a bit about elderberry and ways that you've used this plant.
Elderberry is pretty much all over North America. We have a European version and we have a native version. Sambucus mexicana is what I've seen primarily in my neck of the woods. And how I've used it traditionally is the berries themselves have been in my area harvestable in August and September. And I go out and harvest. They're very small little black or blue berries that grow in a cluster. And the ones especially in my area that are growing along, there's a roadside that people are always hacking the plants back. You know how people do that so that they're not, getting into the telephone lines, or I don't know, people are always hacking back plants on the roadside. It's kind of dismaying. But before they do that, I generally will go out in this one site where I have permission to harvest the berries by the roadside. And the reason why I chose those berries is because the berry is so potent as a medicine that I tend to like to save the plants that are blooming in the center of the forest. Those are really for medicinal use, but the ones on the roadside I use for dyes. I clean them off, and they probably have some particulate matter from the cars that have resided on their skin and surface. But I take the little clusters and I rinse them and I crush them. And one of the things I've been able to do is the seeds often will float to the top. So if I crush them and put them in water, I'll skim off the seeds. And the seeds are also very, very useful for some of the restoration groups in my community who are restoring riparian areas. They love elderberry. So I give them the seeds, or they give me the juice from their own seed harvesting process. And the juice is really the dye. So you squeeze the berry, and what I've done is taken wool primarily that and cotton works great too, that I've definitely pre-soaked in a mineral salt like potassium aluminum sulfate or alum. And I've taken the wool or cotton and then I soak it in the crushed elderberry juice, and it comes out the most beautiful shade of lavender. It's just gorgeous. And it's fairly color and light fast. So, elderberry, like I said, Sambucus mexicana in my area does produce these shades all the way up through a fairly strong purple. And like I said, the the plant itself is most commonly used in riparian areas for restoration, and that's because it's really indigenous to those freshwater streams. And what I love, the story I love about elderberry that I did write about is that it's the only host plant for the longhorn beetle. And this one form of longhorn beetle lives in the hollow shaft of its stalks. And elder is, I mean, it's a sacred plant in my community amongst the indigenous cultures because the stalk, because it's the home for the longhorn beetle, of course, it's hollow, and people knew that it was hollow, and so they made flutes out of it. And so it became a musical instrument and a clapper as well. They would slice the stalk through the center and then hit it against their knee, and it would become like an elderberry clapper instrument. And it's just a very, I would say it's a very unique species in the California and across the nation. The way it stands out with these beautiful deep purple and lavender berries. It's just gorgeous, and they grow like little mini grapes. I mean, it's just this beautiful cluster. And elder, also what I've noticed is before I get to harvest it for dye, um, you'll notice it on this on these little freshwater streams with these beautiful white flowers, and they're dripping white flowers. And people make elderflower wine out of those flowers. So I've tasted elderflower wine. I've had elderberry dye all over my house, and I've also seen my friend makes an elderberry red wine tincture because it's the most incredible immune tonic for the winter. I thrive off of elderberry tincture in the winter. It keeps me very healthy and very happy. So all of these uses, I mean, music, habitat, the salmon streams are very dependent on elderberry because it creates shade and in a very beautiful way. And all the insects are attracted to it for so many reasons. And then those insects fall in the water, and then the salmon fry eat them.
It's like a fast food place for for salmon fries.
And for humans, it's such an incredible source of so many things for color, medicine, food. And it supports food on many levels because of the salmon.
Can you eat the berries? Do you know?
I have never had a great experience eating them fresh. A lot of people have warned me, oh, don't eat them fresh, you'll die. And it's like, no, you won't die, but they don't sit well in the stomach. My wild foods friends who are very interested in the uses of elder have had great rapport with drying them out in the sun. And once they're dried, sprinkling them on their oatmeal, just a sprinkle for medicinal use. And that has gone well for everybody. But eating a horde of them fresh will make you sick to your stomach. So don't do that.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add about elder?
The last thing I would say about elder is plant it, especially if you live, let's say, where it's native, which is pretty much everywhere. um, Plant it prolifically in your gardens because a lot of the lands that it's indigenous to have been usurped for other purposes. And in my area, a lot of the water has been channeled. And so a lot of the plants that used to grow along the riparian corridor are gone. And a lot of the ranch lands where it used to grow, the cows love it. And so any baby elderberry that starts to grow after, a bird will poop out the seed after it eats the berry, and these little elderberry babies you would think would start growing everywhere, but they're often overgrazed. So elder needs more places to grow. So my last thing to say is just find a native plant nursery that's growing elder, or find a wild source and make dye and save your seeds and then plant your seeds and grow elder for yourself. And if you are going to grow it for yourself, there's seed protocols. I'm trying to remember. Elder might be one of those plants that you need to sit in old coffee. You have to reenact a bird's stomach. because it needs some kind of I call it like a scarification, or some plants need fire, some plants need a bird's stomach, and I don't know if elder is like that, but if it is, there's the USDA plant database has sometimes a seed protocol, but I totally recommend growing it yourself and coming into contact with that plant and planting it everywhere, because it's a very rich ethnobotanical species, but it also is just so rich for all of the species, insect, mammal, and otherwise in our communities that rely upon it.
In this short segment, recorded on an herb walk in the Santa Barbara foothills, Lanny talks about elder.
Yeah. A little sour, a little astringent, but
Kind of juicy though.
juicy, yeah. But you could see where with a little sugar you could make a nice jelly. More a jelly than a jam, because you want to strain all the seeds out and just use the juice, and then add the pectin and make a jelly rather than dealing with all the seeds.
And what is this plant called?
Elderberry. Of course, elderberry wine was the traditional way to preserve the elderberry. Now, of all these plants that we've been seeing, this is the one that's been getting the most press in the herbal medicine world. The syrup of this juice of this fruit, it's called Sambuca, and it's an antiviral medicine. So it's being used for like treating the common cold.
And is that Sambucus? Is that how you say it?
Sambucus,
Mexicana?
yeah, it's named for the genus. Yeah, elderberry.
Are the berries the most medicinal part?
No, the flowers
Oh, the flowers.
also. The flowers are an old herbal remedy for colds, on the theory of sweating out a cold. The idea that a cold is caused by a virus or a bacteria that lives within a certain temperature range. So what your body does is try to raise the body temperature to kill it, but not get the temperature so high that you kill, the good cells. So that's why a fever is a good thing up to a point. So this is used to induce a fever. The flowers, the elder flowers, mixed with peppermint in equal parts in a hot tea, is drunk, and then you cover yourself up with blankets and sweat. And you should feel a lot better in the morning. The other importance of this tree to the Chumash was for making musical instruments. It has the tendency, when the branches are young, for them to grow straight. Like, see this one right here? So they would cut these back so that they were always putting out new growth, and the new growth would come out really straight. Here and there, if you look through it, you'll see these straight branches coming up out of it. But sometimes when you watch these, you'll see a lot of those, and they're not hollow, but they're pithy in the center of the branch. Rather than this wood, for example, which is harder in the center than it is out here, the elder is soft in the center, so they could hollow out that center and make a flute or a whistle. Cool. Or they had an instrument called a clack stick, which was a section about this long of the elderberry, and actually about that thickness right there. And they'd hollow it out, probably burn it out, and then with a burning stick, a glowing stick, and then slit it about halfway down on each side, and then hit it like that, and they get this clacking sound. Really resonates for a long way. And get a few people playing those, and you've got a little percussion section.
If you're interested in growing elder, it can be propagated from cuttings and made into wine. In parts of England, elderberry wine is called Old Bugger's Beverage. But don't let that stop you from enjoying the many benefits of elder, Sambucus, either medicinally, musically, or as an aperitif. To learn more about the green world, visit theplantreport.com. The Plant Report is produced by Jill Cloutier and is a project of Sustainable World Radio. For more podcasts about plants, permaculture, and ecology, visit our website, sustainableworldradio.com. The Plant Report is created for educational purposes only. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any health condition. Thanks for listening to the Plant Report, and don't forget to thank the plants for everything they do.